OpenAI has released a new essay about kind of confronting a quiet but increasingly urgent issue that they're seeing, which is people are forming emotional bonds with AI. So, this essay by Joanne Zhang, who is the head of model behavior and policy at OpenAI, came out this past week. And in it, she writes that the company is hearing from more users who describe ChatGPT as someone, not something. Some people call it a friend, others say it feels alive. And while the model isn't conscious, its conversational style can evoke genuine connection, especially in maybe emotionally sensitive moments like times of loneliness or stress. So this led OpenAI, she says, to focus less on whether AI is actually conscious. She kind of, sidesteps this big philosophical debate in this essay, but more on the fact that it can feel conscious to users. And that perception, she argues, shapes real world emotional impact. And as a result, OpenAI needs to be really thoughtful about how they design their tools. She said, for now, at least, the goal is to build AI that feels warm and helpful without pretending to have an inner life. She kind of talks about these kind of trade offs and decisions they have to think about, which are like, we're not going to have it make up backstories about itself, simulate desires, talk about like self preservation, like it's, self aware. So OpenAI is kind of in this position where they're trying not to deny people's feelings, but they are trying to avoid confusion, dependence, or harm as these, well, I guess what you would call human AI relationships evolve. So I don't know, Paul, I read this. It's really good. Like kudos to them for a really thoughtful approach here. But I was like, this gets into some murky territory really fast because on one hand, like you should be rightly concerned about how people are developing relationships with these tools. But it's also like, okay, is OpenAI now making decisions that impact how we feel about AI? Clearly, they can turn the dial one way or the other to determine how we feel about AI. So, what do you think? What did you kind of take away from reading this?
There's a number of important points here, and the part of the reason we made this a main topic today, and not just like linked to the one article. Um, the first for me is, as you were highlighting, like these are choices that each lab is making. Like you train the model, and then the labs decide its personality. They decide how it will interact with you, how warm and personal it will be. And so illuminating the choices OpenAI is making based on some principles or, foundational beliefs or morals or whatever it is that's driving their decisions, doesn't mean the other labs will make the same choices. And so whatever OpenAI thinks is potentially a negative within these models, another lab may see that as the opposite. And they may actually choose to do the things OpenAI isn't willing to do because maybe there's a market for it. So maybe they look at it and say, yeah, we won't make ours as addictive because we won't make the personality, you know, something like it's going to draw them in and keep them in these conversations and kind of lead them down different paths, where a different entrepreneur or venture capitalist may say, hey, there's a huge market to do the thing OpenAI is not going to do. Let's go do that thing.
Mm,
So I think that one, just understanding that there is agency in this, there is decisions being made by humans as to what these models will be capable of. You have to understand the inherent capabilities exist to behave in any way. It is a human that's shaping how it actually does it. I know at Anthropic, they have people dedicated to the personality of Claude. Like we've talked
mhm.
about this on the podcast. So I think this matters in business and in life because the AI you interact with in your job, some human is training it to function in that way. When we build custom GPTs, we will often say, like my co-CEO GPT, say like, I want you to challenge me. Like I want you to like present, when I present problems to you, I want you to help me solve them. But like when I present strategies to you, I want you to like almost steelman them. I want you to
Mhm.
take the opposite side sometimes. And so we get to kind of control how these AI interact, but each lab is sort of dictating parts of that for business and for life. So it matters for you. It matters for your kids, like to know what AI chatbots they're interacting with and who's controlling those. So like if, let's say TikTok, like if there's an AI in there you can interact with, WhatsApp, Roblox, Minecraft, like take your pick. It's going to be in games. It's going to be in social media channels. Um, who's determining the behavior of the AI that your kids talk to all the time?
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think like we're not trying to solve this here. Like I don't even have like super deep insights per se into like the personality choices. I see this as the domain of philosophers, sociologists, psychologists, lawyers, like technologists. Like there's a lot of different perspectives that need to be considered. But what we know and what we talk about all the time in this podcast is the models are getting smarter. They're going to get more human like. These are just facts. And in many cases, it is by design. The voice stuff we just talked about matters here because the more human like they become, more empathetic they're made on the back end, then all of a sudden you start developing these deeper relationships. And I think like for me, another key takeaway is like I get frustrated sometimes following in the AI bubble on Twitter X because the technologist gets so caught up in whether something can or can't actually do something. So, like, is it conscious or not? Does it have empathy or not? Um, does it actually think like we think? Can it go through true reasoning? There was a paper over the weekend that was sort of getting a ton of run on X, and it was from Apple,
Right.
and it came as like the illusion of thinking. And so it was basically saying they're not actually reasoning. That these reasoning models, it's all a facade. They're not actually doing it. It breaks down if you give them these complex puzzles. And I was just like, I get it. Like, one, it's Apple. So there's a part of me that's like, really? Apple's the one telling us that models can't do these things. They can't even fix Siri. But taking it for what it's worth, assuming these are brilliant AI researchers doing this thing, I'm not disputing that whatever their findings are may be true or not. All I'm saying is it doesn't matter. Like, so the technologists get lost in these debates about whether it can or can't do something, and they lose sight of the fact that it can simulate things though. Like
Right.
even if it isn't actually reasoning, it is producing a valuable output that impacts jobs. It simulates behaviors and emotions and actions at or above a human level, and it creates the perception of these abilities. So whether it can or can't do the thing, it really doesn't matter because we have to be humble enough to realize like we don't even understand how the human brain is doing reasoning. And maybe it's not actually that different than the way we do reasoning.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of get annoyed with that stuff. But so just to dive real quick into the actual essay. So it says we naturally anthropomorphize objects around us. We name our cars or feel bad for a robot vacuum stuck under furniture. Actually, it's weird. Total side note. The stuff happening in LA, which is
Yeah.
tragic. I was seeing the Waymos on
I was
fire.
going to send this to you this morning. There's a lot of commentary around that too, from an
Yeah,
AI perspective.
yeah, there was this moment where I was like, "Oh, the poor cars," and I was like, "It's a freaking
Ah.
car!" Like,
Yeah.
yes, it can drive itself, but like, and you immediately flip back to the humanity of what is going on there, and but there is that second where you're like, "Oh, like I feel bad for the Waymos." It's like, no, it's just metal and computers. So anyway, the article continues. My mom and I waved bye to a Waymo the other day. It probably has something to do with how we're wired. The difference with ChatGPT isn't that human tendency itself. It's that this time it replies. A language model can answer back. It can recall what you told it, mirror your tone, and often what reads as empathy. Again, not real empathy. It doesn't feel anything, but it simulates it, and that matters.
Mhm.
For someone lonely or upset, that steady, non judgmental attention can feel like companionship, validation, and being heard, which are real needs. At scale, though, offloading more of the work of listening, soothing, and affirming to systems that are infinitely patient and positive could change what we expect of each other. If we make withdrawing from messy, demanding human connections easier without thinking it through, there might be unintended consequences we don't know we're signing up for. So, again, like takeaways for me, what can we do here? Understand that when we talk about AI models, there are actual abilities, it can actually do this thing. And then there are perceived capabilities, emotions, or behaviors. Um, and so don't get caught up in the technical debates about is it conscious, is it not conscious? Like, we may never know. But if it feels conscious to people, does it really matter if it is
Mhm.
or it is not? If it actually is doing reasoning like the human brain, there'll be technical debate probably for the next 10 years about that. But does it sure appear to when we watch its thinking? Yes, it does. Does it do the work of people who have reasoning abilities? Yes, it does. Like, so I think that's the main thing is, like, you just have to understand there's a difference between actual ability and simulation, but the simulating of the ability creates the perception that it actually has it, and that's really all that matters when we look at the economic impact and the impact on our lives and our own emotions.
Yeah, I would also just encourage a healthy dose of humility as well, because if you're someone listening to this being like, maybe you're of a certain age or a certain perspective and you say, well, no, of course, I'm never going to like fall for this and like form a relationship, use the term relationship loosely. I'm never going to humanize AI. I think you should take a step back and just be aware we all can fall for this. I guarantee you.
Yeah, and it'll just become natural over time. Like, I
Yes.
think, to your point, like, it just yeah, humans adapt. And yes, some age groups, some people, regardless of age, you may just be stuck in your ways and you may not, but the vast majority of people will just evolve and
Hmm.
they will they they will treat AI differently. And I get asked sometimes when I go to talks like about the rights of AI. Like there are
Yeah.
people now who truly believe they're at the point where these things need rights. They need to be treated, like humans. Um, and again, I think that'll become a bigger and bigger part of society. I don't judge anybody. Like, I get it. It's weird and it's hard and, like, there's no right answers right now, and a lot of the experts just can't agree on any of this stuff. Like, look at the Apple paper, and you have this, like, massive debate going on X all weekend of, like, these guys are
Yeah.
idiots, and, like, it's just